Today we're going to be interviewing a Dogecoin kid, Lisa from Up Worldwide. And today we have the beautiful Miss from Crypto here tonight with us. Today we have Ken Bozak.
Foundation, Rarible, and and Charged Particle.
Speaking from a Gen Z's perspective.
So why do these people buy this
collection? I work with an artist out of...
Wait till you see my other outfits.
AMC.
Hey, City Girl here to welcome everyone to NFTs. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday night. And to those of you who faithfully show up every week, we appreciate your support. Just a reminder that our episodes are posted on our YouTube channel, so if you miss any of them or you want to rewatch any information, please check us out online. So a few weeks ago, we welcomed Gabrielle from Binge to the show, and she talked to us about several projects that they were working on, including Afro Zero, which was an upcoming NFT marketplace. Tonight, we bring on not only the co-founder of Binge Digital, but also her husband as well. So please join me in throwing up some hearts for Justino Molinaro.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Welcome, and thank you for coming on, Justino.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you, appreciate that.
So Binge Digital is growing, and Gabby gave us a great overview, but why don't you tell us about your role with Binge Digital, and actually, if you don't mind, start with how you got involved with Web3 marketing.
Oh, wow. Okay, sure. So I guess, as the kind of creator, founder of Binge, you do a lot of stuff. Gab's far and away the marketing, genius in the group. We're both like, if you look at the first 5 years of business, stuff like that. So from that perspective, we're all hands in. I am often involved in, I do Binge as an entity can, invest in companies or projects or whatever, and, because that's what we do kind of when we work with, is like a service business, essentially, a marketing company, a messaging company. It's a service. So you want to be working with people that, kind of have the same ideas and foundations and stuff like that. So I don't, yeah, oh, sorry. And I play kind of the role in messaging more so on things, and a lot of kind of activations when a brand is trying to get more exposure. How can they do it with where they are, maybe as a Web 2 or a Web 3? What's a kind of a front-facing way, utilizing content and, different types of content? What would be kind of the optimal way to go about that? That's kind of where I shine at, I'd suppose, or spend the most of my.
And what are the differences in the approach to marketing for Web 2 and Web 3?
It's really interesting. It's still the fundamentals of marketing. What's your message? What are you trying to say? Who need to hear it? And you can shape that up or remix as many ways as you want. Who you're trying to help, or who you're trying to reach out to, or whatever it is, or based on your brand. But it's not really any different. It's just, what can you leverage in that space to have, kind of like a broader reach if possible, find other, supporters, partners that wouldn't have found you had you not been able to be in that space. So like this kind of thing here for Web3 is really, really great because, it's such a creative atmosphere. I feel like I'm at a studio activation in like New York. They were so beautiful, and even the ones in LA, like an NFT. I'll go to one tonight, NFT Tuesdays in Los Angeles. And so, this reminds me of that in the digital space. And it's just really great to create these kind of like authentic spaces, and people can gravitate to, where they can, best kind of utilize this medium for their messaging. I think that's what this kind of showcases really well.
Nice. And are you actively involved in some of the other projects with Binge Digital, like Teleport and the Oasis adaptogens?
Yeah, I am. Those two are both awesome groups. Teleport is like, I'll start with Teleport. Teleport is well, it's like a social media, Web3 social media slash, you can really do so much with it. It just depends on how you want to utilize it. It can be as well as kind of a YouTube or an Instagram. It's got multiple components to it. You can kind of create your own world in it, and showcase things. You could have, videos on there in 3D or, in 2D if you want. So it's kind of a thing that, you want to experience, but it's a really cool bridge, really cool bridge, or I would say even probably vehicle from Web 2 to Web 3,
Okay.
for like social media and, personal expression, or even, if you're a business of really any magnitude. I would see companies like Insta360 having a channel on there. I would see, Disney or, or any influencers, or, we can compare it to a number of the current social media um, platforms that we all kind of use a bit, like kind of a mix of different things, and it ushers you into Web3, which is really interesting. You can put your NFTs on there. You can turn your NFTs from 2D to 3D. It's really just got a lot of cool features. So I'd encourage everybody to go to the website, teleport.co.
I did download it. I did play around with it a little bit. It was interesting, the different places that you could check out on there. And I did look at some NFT stuff on there as well.
Yeah, it's really neat. And I think, it's a really cool project. And I think there may be, I'm not sure if there's still like founders NFTs available. I have one. Mine was, a part of working with the group. But I would be interested in that. I've done a lot of NFT, like investing and purchasing, and it was something that I learned about by reaching out, because I like, their software and, their platform and everything they're doing. And so that was a really grassroots kind of relationship that's been developing, that I'm actually, really, I guess, thankful for Web3 for the relationship as well.
Nice. Okay. Now, we've discussed on many of our shows here, we've talked about, graphic NFTs, we've talked about music NFTs. Since you've done a little bit of acting yourself, do you see a platform for NFTs in the cinematography arena?
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I do want to mention Oasis in a moment. I'll come back to them, because I know you asked me about both, so I don't want to, leave anything unanswered. But as it relates to film and NFTs, yeah, absolutely. I think film's moving a bit, maybe partially a bit slower, although there's been a lot of film stuff happening with NFTs. Like, I went to the dinosaur one. Oh gosh, Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park, and so I went to see it with my wife, and we got two NFTs that are then released on Vivi's platform, and that was really cool. Because I probably wouldn't have gone to see it if there wasn't that opportunity to get an NFT on a platform that I already have, some other NFTs on. So not only that, but I think financing projects. I think that film is just a bit, it's extremely collaborative. We see here, right? Some of this is being live streamed, so that's like, filming live, or like with, the slowest delay or the fastest, alternatively. So it's like nearly real time, and there's, a team working on it to make sure that, that it's delivered in a way that our senses are willing to, sit through, or maybe even the most engaging, to help make it easier on them. So film being such kind of a collaborative thing, I think that's maybe why we haven't seen it, as much. I think what film is doing is they're buying like intellectual property. So if anybody creates these, I like Designer Con. I'll go to that this year. I went last year. There's a lot of really cool designers there. You could go to something like that and realize like, oh, I could create something like that, or I've always whatever, just a niche character that you like or a story or anything really. It just is an interesting, really creative place to be at. And you may, start just making something and then be able to utilize, Web3 to like, you know, monetize that and do it autonomously per se without needing as much of a team because it's just you doing it, and that's awesome. That's really creative, and it can help you kind of remain engaged in your own creative access while other larger projects may be coming together, like say a filming project. But I do think Web3 will make things happen faster
Sure.
because you don't need like say great lighting, and that makes things a bit easier.
You said you wanted to mention something about the Oasis.
Yeah, Oasis. We were in New York for NFT NYC, and Jeremy, the founder of Oasis, came. Actually, he came to LA. He drove down to LA because there were some events he wanted to go to, and I was able to spend a lot of time with him and my wife and our friends and different collaborators and partners in New York. And we went from LA to New York, and we were all together, and it was just a really, really great experience to spend time. Oasis Adaptogens is it's a company that makes functional adaptogenic mushroom drinks and matcha that help us ease our way from caffeine, all the different types of caffeine we may drink, to like a natural source that gives you a more sustained source of energy, and also like is proven to kind of help lessen your stress response to things. I think one of the interesting things about me is when I was younger, I was in a car accident and I was in a coma for a long time. And it's taken me a long time to learn how to properly, like, socially readjust, in ways. And so that's why I like all the different forms of access. Because in person it can be strange and awkward, and you can see how my wife communicates. You just want to like say, "Oh, I want more and more of that," and we all communicate a bit differently. So I think that one of the interesting things about Oasis is they're creating something that you can literally just substitute because we need to drink, right? And you can have it cold or hot. It's whatever. I mean, I'm a big fan. I'm like an ambassador, I suppose, content creator with them. And my wife is deeply integrated as their CMO. So I'm also like, always learning and listening, but they're really, really sharp and talented at that stuff. So I kind of stay in my lane and just help. But I was able to spend a lot of time with Jeremy in New York City and just see all the projects, meaningful things that he's doing, and that, like the source behind, what the product is just like being here like you guys. It's just really, really cool to be around those individuals that are creating things that are just like really great individuals to be around as often as you can. And so those are the kind of things that I like to, and in my little ways, try to push that stuff out there, because I think everybody has a lot to gain from these kind of scenarios and settings where there's just it may be a more intimate or an earlier stage endeavor, but it's really, really forward in the sense of what it's accomplishing and what it can provide to to help just make our lives better, easier, more
Interesting
fun,
for
all
sure.
kinds of, yeah.
So you've mentioned
um,
a couple of times about NFT NYC, and
mhm.
I read that the turnout there was absolutely insane. Were you a speaker there or just attending? And what kinds of events were held there at the event? I mean, was it open to the general public to go there and learn, or was it mostly for people who were actively involved in NFTs?
No, yeah, sure. Those are all really great questions. I'm sure there might have even been some virtual events, or maybe I don't know if you guys had maybe next year that'd be something cool where, this space has something that's virtually accessible for any of us that are there at the time. But
We did do that after a couple of other events. We did that after Shitcoin in Miami. We did that here.
oh, dope. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that would have been really cool to go to. Well, there was a conference. I didn't go to the conference. I had a busy schedule with other things, like there was events that were being put on that I was like, my wife put one on, and so I was helping the nuances of that, or an artist friend of ours that was putting one on. Then Oasis had roles in different events, and so we were also kind of working that stuff and hanging out. So I didn't go to the conference, although I do like conferences because I always learn stuff. Like you get in a place like this, and you think like, man, I was one of 5 people in that conference, but God, I just learned so much, or I just really I felt comfortable, or whatever. And so I didn't go, but I really respect the conference. I would have liked to have gone. A couple friends of mine, I'm working with another individual who's a like a graphic artist or 3-dimensional artist in metaverse, who wants to create a film, but in the metaverse. And so we're working on that. He was speaking. His name's Xander Sims. He's a really cool guy. It's another project that I'm kind of doing. But that one, since it's film and like in the metaverse and a whole world and everything, that one's still kind of developing, and there's not as much to kind of speak to on that yet. But yeah, so there was all kinds of extra other events that you could go to that were totally free. You could be on Eventbrite, or I think the event sent out like a list of events to go to. I know that I have the Bat Cowl. It's a Batman mask, and my cousin and I have always been like kind of comic fans and like anime and all that kind of stuff. So we got a couple of those, and they had an event, and there's all this other cool, like interactive stuff going on. So there was a lot of events happening. Well, like if you were a holder of any of the projects that were out there. And so there was a couple of things that I was invited to, and then helping and curate some events, and just kind of navigate the city. But I thought it was all very easy. You didn't have to know anything about NFTs. Everything is really open, and I like the space because education is kind of at the root of it all, and just kind of
Nice.
asking questions, and so.
No, that's great. It's not that far away from me, so I actually wanted to go to it. Was unable to make it this time, but I definitely have it on my list for next year when they come back. I think that would be a great event to attend. And I like your
Yeah,
idea
for sure.
about doing something in here in the metaverse afterwards, because there'll be a lot of people there. There'll definitely be setups for people with, headsets or computers, whatever, that they can jump in,
Mhm.
and we could have something here for everybody to gather, check out alt space, and maybe
Yeah.
even go around to a couple of other of the other apps in here,
Yep.
and check out the metaverse from where you are. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be cool.
let's talk a little bit about NFT investments, NFTs versus regular investments. I mean, you've mentioned that investment a couple times earlier. So, like, let me hear your take on it. Do you have some NFTs of your own? And, if you, which ones to invest in?
Sure. Well, I think m just to put it in context, my background's probably film and finance. So I've kind of been on the capital market side of finance, in terms of like the debt and capital markets, like stock markets and things. I worked in those environments before, after college, and I studied finance. And so I kind of apply some of those principles of investing to the things I look at. I was an analyst for a number of years, and so that helped me kind of develop I guess, just a critical eye for investments, and also understanding risk, you know, and understanding kind of the foundations of like where are you at, and what are you trying to achieve, because if you get an NFT and it like goes down, and there's a lot of people right now that have sold a lot of assets that will be very valuable, later on. And we don't need to discuss what assets in many markets right now, right? But they sold because they had to in most cases. For whatever
Right.
reason, things got a little tight or something, and or they didn't allocate things properly. So I think being able to have kind of an awareness or a foundational approach in that sense, going about your finances and what can you allocate, because you do want to be participating, like what are the ways in which you can, what are you working with, and then from
Okay.
yeah, like if you were your bank, and you were investing on behalf of, what things are you interested in? Well, I'm interested in this metaverse stuff. I'm really interested in NFTs and arts. I'm interested in what NFTs stand for in the sense of how it's, smart contract ensure that like the proper people are being compensated, and just it's just really an upgrade and I think in our experience as humans. Um, Now that doesn't take anything away from anything physical, because I'm a very visual, like physical individual, you know what I mean? Like, so, but those two can work together, and really make things
Sure.
even more, yeah. And, so yeah, that's, I do have a lot of investments, just in the sense on a number of different platforms, and I've probably started or really went into Vivi, um, the like the licensed IP um, app and platform, and so I was kind of early on that one in the sense for maybe it was there was as many users, but I wasn't like the first individual on there. But I did end up finding a lot of stuff I love that they have on their platform, so I collected a bunch of stuff there, and then just other obscure like art projects and if I like what it sounds, what I'm hearing. I tend to gravitate though to like maybe having a relationship with a brand in a sense, a little bit more
Okay.
than anything else. 'Cause there's so much
Sure.
out there.
Now, you told me when we were chatting earlier about this little green avatar of you over here that you said we have this up on the wall for everybody to look at. This another copy back there if you're in the back. You told me this
Oh
was
yeah.
actually a custom creation for you from Xpunks.
Yeah. Those guys are there's three founders and or three guys on the project. There's the CEO and the operations, and guy that is all systems and software and stuff like that, and then the designer in the group. And so we met those three at in Austin, in South by Southwest in Austin, and they we they were just like out there meeting and greeting, and they had like thing with their stuff, and we got to meet them and kind of hit it off with them and like their energy and what they were out there doing. And they're from Holland, I believe. And so I hope I got that right. But yeah, and so they were just, it was just a lot of fun and hearing their story. And so yeah, so the designer made me a custom, he made it himself for me. Um, NFT kind of PFP when that was really popular, and I'm kind of dogmatic with leaving it up because I love him. I think he's a great artist and a great human, and also the idea of like what's hot right now and what's not hot.
Sure.
I like being able to, I don't know, sometimes you can mix things up and they work better. So I've got
Now,
I've got it
I
up
did
there on
go
there for
and
you.
I researched it a little bit. I went and I followed down the rabbit hole a bit, and I saw that there was a pretty big collection that they have that all have the similar look and style to them. Um, and you mentioned that it was on the Ripple blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
can you mention a little bit about that for the people who aren't familiar?
Oh yeah, sure. Um, it's the first kind of like PFP, NFT, and punk NFTs on the Ripple platform, and they also created a like a marketplace for NFTs, the founders, and based off of that. And so it's really cool because and it's also like a reverse IOU NFT. So I would encourage you to read it. It's very novel. Um, and see if that kind of makes sense to you and you kind of understand it. And so yeah. And let me think what else. Yeah, I mean it's a PFP project. There'll be like different utility to it that that I'm sure. I don't pay as much attention to that because I'm kind of like just invested in a relationship with the founders. But I would only tell my wife has one. I hold some close friends. And I'm also obviously very public in the sense of it's on my thing. So yeah, I'd encourage anybody. If you have any questions, I'm happy to field them. If people, I don't have all the answers here, but like someone could DM me on Instagram, and I'd be happy to like answer any questions.
Sure.
Field them to the right for sure.
Now, on the back walls in the side over here, I have a couple of pixelated NFTs that I saw you had listed on your Twitter that you were promoting for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is this collection over here that you said was coming out soon?
Yeah, so they released 500 of these recently, and then there's a handful more they'll release that haven't been released yet. But this is Pixelated Heroes. This is done by Rewind Collective. I first learned about them. They're advocates for LGBTQ, I believe and I'm always wanting to make sure I get all the different
IA.
components included. IA, yeah, thank you very much. So they're like women's rights leading of with all the other branches of kind of the preferential sides and those things. So I was reached out to by their ambassador who said, hey, I like your stuff. I think you'd be, we'd like to, work with you if you, whoa, kind of blown away because I didn't expect that. So honestly, I was kind of so humbled that that was one of the areas where I probably didn't even communicate how much, how really kind of in awe I am of the project properly. Um, and I also like to grow, and they're doing a lot of different things. So I also kind of try to do my best to not just think that everything has to be done right now. As long as you can put out enough that it can be discovered, and you've done a brilliant job. I know you're also very good at this, and you've created some really great photos. But if it can be found, and you're curious, then people should be able to see kind of the things I support. So
Sure.
yeah, you can find them, or they're on Maker's Place where they've made some of their own. They've released historical women who've like Pocahontas, and they've released so many on the VV platform, and then all of these pixelated heroes represent an individual or a story. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
All right.
pretty cool.
What advice can you give to any entrepreneurs, through your marketing firm? You obviously do a lot of different services that we've talked about previously, but what advice can you give for maybe an entrepreneur that is, out there with their new business, their startup, and they're like, okay, I want to, get somebody on board for marketing, but I really want to include some of this NFT stuff. Who should they be looking for as a marketing firm? How do they find somebody who offers these services?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I would think, probably the best way, to a specific audience here, this would be also on YouTube. I would probably tell the individual watching this on YouTube, I would say, you see Binge, my wife is in charge of kind of all comms on that. So if anybody reaches out, you get, kind of one of the best in the business. So you get that individual's, I guess, ear for a moment. So I think that's if you have a project, you're working on, and you're just trying to get to the next step. I think we're locally, you could look at like any of the events on Eventbrite or meetup.com, and if those don't exist, maybe create it. I know that may seem like a lot. You could DM me, even for some thoughts. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, so if I don't respond, like super fast, and forgive me, you may be, a little bit quicker going to our Binge page, but yeah, I think a combination of those two things, the in real life, the meetups, which are basically like this in the Web3 and space, are really just a tremendous way to just kind of find out, hey, what could I, is anybody creating NFTs here? Is anybody using them to, help raise capital? And everybody's very, at least in Los Angeles where I've been, and New York where I've been, and some other states, everybody's really receptive and really well, kind of versed and experienced in those settings. Got some individuals that would be, the next person to be up here speaking. So, coming to these events, and then I would look at who's tagged in the comments, see who that is, do a little bit of like, see if you gravitate with, like for example, maybe I don't make any sense to you, but you watch, this is a viewer, you watched the previous YouTube, 6 weeks ago, and maybe that's one that my wife was on, and someone's like, oh wow, that was great. Or maybe the one just before that, or the one after, or maybe it's the opposite. It's just one that you just kind of connect. Well, then then reach out. You can hit me up, and if I'm not responding, you could hit you guys up and be like, yo, hey, I hit this guy up a week ago, and then you guys nudge me. Then I'm like, oh yeah, or vice versa.
Persistence.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Are there any other interesting projects that you're currently working on that you can share with us?
Yeah, there is actually. Let me think. What is the best way? There's an NFT project that I'm a big fan of. It's called Imperfect. It's basically about dealing with mental health and being, what the verification does on different platforms. And the gentleman's, the idea behind a lot of it is in Canada, and we connected, just via like on Twitter. And I'm not as active as I really, be, or maybe should be, in the sense of, on Twitter, sometimes there's just so many different platforms, and just other things, that we're juggling. And so anyway, we connected on there, which is always very meaningful when I connect with someone on there, because there's so many really great Twitter accounts, and mine is not like, that. So yeah, that's, I guess, the core of what I'm saying. So we connected on that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I like the idea. And so I probably just, kind of followed all the different stuff. And that's an NFT dealing with mental health and working towards being able to, in a place where mental health can be afforded, without having what it currently takes to be able to access mental health.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I'm kind of big in the mental health space. That's what has brought me to be in, enjoy VR and so much, because it kind of brings it all together three-dimensionally for me, I guess, the way I see things. And so it just looks like another component kind of to us, like a globe puzzle.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
well, I want to remind everybody here that if you send us a message on our Instagram at BLOCKCHAINUNIVRSE, we will send you, you send us your email, we'll send you a free POAP from tonight's event. And so we'll send you one or two so that you'll have it. And also, we're going to open up the floor now for the raise hand feature. If anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask Justino, and please don't forget to rate the event and We have the floor now open if you have any questions.
See.
We have a question from DJ. Go ahead, DJ.
Yes, hi, thank you. So I have a question for you. If I, let's say, could afford writing you a blank check, what would be the one project that you'd start working like tonight? Say, go ahead and just all paid.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. If it were a blank check, there's projects that aren't, available right now.
Mm.
They're like involving like accessible mental health and able to create community. I think I would work on that project that my friend in New York called Fire Audio. Literally, the way they've they've created a new way. These guys are just highly intelligent. And when you would see who's involved, you'd understand why. But a new way to utilize the magnet to make audio that comes out healing as opposed to like damaging in the sense of like loudness like that. It's a whole different experience. That's going to have a huge impact as soon as that would, I think, be able to have a capital infusion. That would probably be my primary project. There's aspects of that that
Very nice.
and that's
nice
so that would be something that I could connect you. Trying to find something really cool, that's. I think once you would see what the scope of it is, you'd be like, oh wow, sure, I'm happy to connect you with them. If you're looking for different things, but I know a lot of people as well that if anybody seems like would be a good fit for anybody to connect with, I'd totally be happy to if somebody needs some info, whatever.
No, that's definitely great.
Jeremy at
Really
Oasis.
awesome answer. Yeah. So why I'm asking this question is really everybody's looking at NFT these days as like a quick money maker type of thing and just get in and buy it. And they very little people are thinking about it as more like okay, what can we really do with this platform and we have in our hand. And this never happened before in history, and so how can we actually help our community, help our world, and all that with something like that never existed before, never was introduced to our to our world. So and that was really great answer that you gave. Definitely, I'm looking for some sort of a project. I might actually reach out to you on Instagram and see what we can do. So very much.
Yeah, they're out of New York City, but they actually I think the base is in California. My friend is Dan in New York City, and if you're around any of those areas to see or meet them or whatever, yeah, you just feel free to message me if you want to learn anything more about them.
Absolutely.
Glad
Thank you so much.
Is great question because it's very difficult. There's a lot of stuff. It's just happening so quickly. It's like definitely like they'd say a stock picker's market, because every project, there's so many very interesting ones out there and, what are they rooted in, so that's why I stick to kind of knowing the people, developing a relationship really helps me out. May be a little bit slower probably, But I definitely think it's just like anything else you're growing. For me, it's no question of well worth it to go that way. You can have
Sure.
intuition, but you're not rolling dice every time.
Mhm.
You run out of resources. So yeah.
Okay, we have another question from Shanique. Go ahead, Shanique.
Can you hear me? Hello, everyone.
Yep.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for speaking. I'm a creative, and I love, and I know music NFTs are out there, but I'm also getting ready to dive in the mind, body, spirit space, and I wonder how that translates into NFTs. Like, how does that even work? Because you did mention about mental stuff, so like I know how music and art can work very easily and how, having a following helps as well. But how does that translate into the mind, body, spirit space?
So, can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing so that I can fully understand how we would transition that?
Okay, so this fall I'm going to be creating an open forum type show where it's like building a community of sharing how we get past certain things when it comes to mind, body, spirit. Because I think everyone is so siloed and suffering in silence in those areas and not really, we don't know our neighbors. We don't even have time for our friends or even for ourselves. So bringing the consciousness up in those areas so that we can be better people and show up as better people. And I will feature like some businesses when it makes sense. But it's about being a resource more than anything for people, more than like, hey, I'm trying to sell you something. Because I feel like,
Right.
especially after COVID, um, in VR as well as out in the real world, it's something that's been really needed even before COVID. It just now people are taking the time because they have the time.
Thanks for sharing. That's really cool. Really, really meaningful, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. So, I would say ways that you could leverage NFTs are, you know, you could have it where you want to raise some capital for the entity, right? So that you could then hold in-person events by having individuals purchase the NFT would show that they're kind of invested in the project. They may just like the art. They may like what it stands for. They may never go to an event, or they may like the idea to go for an event. But what it is it's basically like investment, and the smart contracts can ensure that, say, you, the designer, Natalie, the such and such, the project manager, Joe, anybody that was involved is getting paid for their part in that, and the overall say funds could go to the entity. You could create a DAO if you wanted to, or you don't have to, but it could go to creating events that help further activation of the mind, body, soul in ways that new, broader ways. I think that if you created an NFT that was cool art, and you could say, well, I want to get small for 25 people. That's as much as we could kind of fit right now, or whatever. To see where that goes. That seems pretty interesting to me. Certainly, if that was happening around me and it was affordable, and it was like, hey, we want to help kind of create space, on Web3, that's cool. It'd also be cool if there's other ways to engage, so that when we can create this kind of holistic experience, especially in the healing arts and aspects.
Yes. Yeah, I've already been like I'm still working on like my business plan and hiring people because I mean the fall is right amongst us, but I just need a few key pieces and I want to see how I can not only make money to funnel back into it, but also to help other entities that are doing the work out there, because it's not, because I think, I don't know, it just seems like I was just having this conversation with this guy that I'm interested in, and I was just like, um, hey, why is it easy to get alcohol, drugs, bad food, caffeine, but the things of like the mind, body, and spirit, it's not easily accessible. And this is why and that's the catalyst on a lot of the issues that we have right now.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm sorry about that. I lost my I lost my tracking. Can you hear me now?
Hear you?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. To your point, all those places were still open during the lockdown and during COVID. So, what's going on?
Oi, oi, oi.
I think she may have lost her tracking again.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a good point. I mean, during COVID, all of the things that were considered essential and necessary, did not include some of the things that are more for mind, body, spirit. It was more for, it was more for pleasure than for necessities. So.
Yeah, and even like, you could say, kind of like medicating, like pleasure to the extent of,
Self-medicating.
like, yeah.
Mhm.
But to put us to sleep in a way, I mean,
True.
would have been interesting if there was no alcohol for 2 years.
Honestly, that was I remember that was one of the very first things that was made as an essential business that was not part of like there was right up there because all the ones around me opened all up, and there was this huge celebration near where I live, and I was like, wow, that's what you guys have as your priority.
Yeah. I'd like to get involved in something that gives out Oculuses or equivalent headsets to so I'm just trying to manifest it, but and everybody can be involved. But I'd like to be a part of something that's giving out Oculuses, because I think we're going to see a lot of people that are going to really need a lot of support.
There are
and I
some
think
people in here do that
really
in alt space. Yes.
okay,
There
that's
are
cool.
some people, we can talk later.
Sure.
There are some people within here who have raised money and given out headsets to I can't remember exactly if it was underprivileged children or if it was
It's beautiful.
within like a youth community. They did
That's
give out
beautiful.
some of that. I mean, it is a great thing because not everybody who can afford can have access to it, but it's definitely something that you would like to see people who are in certain communities, get the kids off the street, get the kids doing something more productive like this, and they might come in here and take a look and say, okay, this is fun. I'm playing a game. Oh, wait, what's this app over here? Wait, I'm enjoying this. I want to build worlds. I want to get more involved in something more productive, and instead of standing out on, getting into trouble on corners and things. So, it's definitely, people kind of frown sometimes about kids playing video games and everything, but there are productive things in there too.
Well, that and yeah, to your point, there's kids that you could have something at a school where there's kids that just don't connect as well.
Yes, 100%.
There's kids, especially growing up, that have a challenge, being able to communicate. And if there was this event, coordinated with a school where people can communicate and talk, and maybe only one student comes in at a time, so it's not like all the classmates experiencing each other, and then that person starts to develop a new audience in a respectful place. And then from there can be other things for them to like take, like maybe proper communication or whatever, and that can be part of the the curriculum then, or offerings at, right? That'd be really really cool. So
the possibilities are endless.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Well, I do appreciate all of you coming out here tonight to listen to Justino. And as mentioned before, this episode is being streamed right now on YouTube. It will be available in about 48 hours on the YouTube channel as well, along with all of our other previous episodes. And we hope you will join us next Tuesday night again at 8:30. And thank you so much for sharing all about your stuff at Binge Digital and about your NFT experiences. It's been great chatting with you, and thank you for coming on the show. If we can get everybody up
Thanks,
here,
guys.
we'll do a group photo with everybody together.
Oh, I love it.
If we can get the audience up.
Thanks, guys.